Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Vandy Sports Podcast. Here's your host, Chris Lee. Commodore fans, on your feet. It's time to anchor down.
Welcome to the Vandy Sports Podcast. Our show presented by Dr. Jody Jones, DDS. We're part of the 440 Sports Network. I'm your host, Chris Lee. Our guest today will be Luke Wyatt. We will talk Vanderbilt basketball and baseball. Luke appears on the guest line. That's presented by Michael Kendrick of the Kendrick Group. Michael is a local carpenter and a lifelong Vandy fan. He builds bookshelves, cabinets, picture frames, furniture, and made-to-order items, including a display case for my prized Dale Murphy jersey. I've seen Michael's work. He's a true craftsman. If you're in the market for custom woodwork, give Michael a call. That number is 615-830-9458. Now on to our interview with Luke Wyatt. Luke Wyatt joins us. It's Monday morning. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. We got no-hitters. We got NCAA bubble talk. And this is so important to Luke that he's literally getting a call from a celebrity who, if I'd named the name, everybody in the listening audience would know it. And yet he turned it down to do this show. He said the call can wait. The podcast is where it's at.
Absolutely.
I guess we start with basketball because I think that's where the focus of the fan attention is right now. Vanderbilt gets another win in a remarkable run, beats Mississippi State at home, another close game. Luke, takeaways from that one. I mean, another big win keeps the season alive, keeps it interesting. Vanderbilt got pounded on the boards without Liam Robbins and won anyway. What did you take away?
Well, first of all, Chris, the atmosphere in Memorial was like the old days almost. Not quite. There was a little over 10,000 there and 90% Vandy fans. So that was wonderful. The students, I don't know what they did besides give away a cowboy hat, but I've never seen that many students. And I'm talking back even the night of like Shane Foster night and all that other stuff. I don't know. They had students drifting into where I sit, which is along the right behind the, the handicap section. I guess I don't want to use the wrong word there, but anyway, that's where I sit. And there were students right behind us, so they never drift all the way over there. So that was the first thing. The atmosphere was incredible, and that really, I do think, helped us win that game because I didn't think we were ever going to get a rebound. They were monsters inside, Tolu Smith, and the way they play, if they had a guard or two that could really shoot it from the outside, they'd be a Final Four team. That's how good they are defensively and rebounding. But our kids, wow. Ezra Mannion, no turnovers, 7 assists. Chris, you know all the numbers. I don't know him. He's got to be first in the league in turnover ratio, assist to turnover ratio. It has to be, doesn't he?
I think Nick Honor at Missouri's ahead of him.
Wow.
But he's close,
impressive.
I'm sure. Yeah.
You know, but anyway, the take, and then Trevor Lawrence. Tyron Lawrence in the first half was amazing. They kind of shut him down in the second half. Maybe he wasn't quite as aggressive. I don't know if it was that or their defense. But everyone just stepped up when they had to. Quentin Malloy-Brown did the best he could inside, but we are certainly missing a big body in there. Hopefully Dort can play in the SEC tournament a little bit if he only gives you 5 minutes a half. That'll be helpful. I thought Anson did a couple of good things. You know, he got the start because he was a senior. He came in, scored 4 points, got a dunk, kind of lit the crowd a little bit. So everyone contributed, and, you know, we hear it all the time, it's a team win, but that was another one of those where it was a couple possession games here, a couple possessions here and there, and you go home a loser. But really proud of the kids, really proud of the fan base. Now, need to show up at Bridgestone Thursday night.
Yeah. By the way, circling back, I looked it up as you were speaking. Actually, Ezra has moved barely ahead of Nick Honor. 3.1 assist to turnover. Honor's 3.0. So Honor's, I think, been among the league leaders or leading the league all year. I presume that he held it, but I checked on it, and that's how good Ezra's been lately, right?
Yeah, exactly.
He was 7-0 in that one. He's been phenomenal. They've kind of got this little foursome thing going on right now. If you include Studi in there, and he did shoot the ball well the other night, where between him, Wright, Lawrence, Mannion, Wright, Lawrence, and Studi, scoring 77 points against Mississippi State, that's really good.
Really good. And they had to have them because even when they got that 15-point lead, I didn't feel comfortable because I knew that if we start missing shots, we're not getting any putbacks.
I'm amazed that they've been able to do this for 2 games in a row. I've just been thinking it's kind of a run where they've been a little fortunate. When you win that many close games, those end up losing out over time. I'm sure the clutch crowd is going to shout at me, but that's generally not how it works. Generally, when you play a bunch of close games, you're gonna come off around 50-50. I'm not saying there can't be exceptions somewhere, but to keep winning with their best player sideline, to me, is just kind of amazing.
It is, but then you look at the things you have to do when your best player is sideline, and they're doing it. You hit threes. That's always kind of been the recipe anyway, even with Liam. He was hitting threes himself. So, if we don't hit a minimum of 8 and need really 10 to 12 threes, we're not going to win. We're not. As hard as we play and as good of offense as we run, we still got to do that to win games just because of our lack of rebounding on the inside.
I think the key going forward for them, because, look, they've got no margin for error in much of anything. I think they've got to beat Georgia or LSU, and then I think they've got to beat Kentucky. I think if they do both those things, they might be in. If they don't, and I've looked at it backwards, forward, and sideways, I think, and it depends on what other teams do, but you saw a couple of teams yesterday get some wins in the Big Ten and Pac-12 that probably Vanderbilt didn't need to win, that kind of thing. I may be confusing some details, but like Penn State getting a big win yesterday. When I'm looking at Vandy and Penn State side by side, that might be a hard one for them to jump without beating Kentucky. And it might be hard to jump even with beating Kentucky. I think you got that. And I think on the floor, I think it's just going to be crucial for them, for Quentin Malloy-Brown to stay out of foul trouble. He's not the guy you lean on, but he's a part, and when he's not in there, I don't know what they have to guard the post at this point, and foul trouble's been an issue for him lately, which that's no surprise. It's big men and in a big men's league this year, and guys pounding the ball in the post. Bigs tend to pick up fouls disproportionately, even sometimes when it's not fair. But I think that's going to be an underrated key for them if they're going to try to get to the NCAA tournament, is trying to keep him on the floor and out of foul trouble.
Yeah, I agree with that. I watched 3 of those 4 Big Ten games yesterday because of my interest for the obvious reasons. And one thing I came out of those games watching, the way Big Ten teams play is really clunky. It's not much fun to watch. At least the four games out, maybe it was just the games, but there was a whole lot of holding and grabbing and pushing and shoving, and neither team really shot well. And I don't know. The Wisconsin-Minnesota game was really hard to watch.
Yeah, and of course, there's been a lot of fouls called in the SEC this year, too. It'd be very interesting to see some SEC Big Ten matchups in postseason.
It will be. It will be.
What else on hoops before we talk some baseball?
Nothing else except, like I said, Thursday, if you can, and I don't know what the rules are for Vanderbilt, if they could buy tickets for the students for an SEC tournament. Whatever they can do to kind of give us a little edge and a little push to get past that first game would be great. After that, you got no shot as far as having a crowd there because Kentucky's going to eat them all up. Already ate up all the tickets probably. But I agree with you that we got to win 2 to get in. And then, even then, it's not a sure thing with upsets and that type of thing. So hopefully it'll fall our way.
Now, the thing that might help them is if they can beat Kentucky. And here's the other thing. I don't know how much attention the committee is going to pay to games Saturday and Sunday other than who wins the championship and gets the auto bid. That was an issue for A&M last year. I brought this up many times. That's no secret to people who hear the podcast. But one thing that might help them, if Vanderbilt is able to beat Kentucky, that opponent coming up next is going to be A&M, Auburn, Arkansas. So Vanderbilt, if it gets past Kentucky, it's not going to take another bad loss.
Right.
So anyway, there's that.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. We had a no-hitter last night. I don't know how much of it you got to watch. Minnesota's 0-11. I don't know what that means, but it's hard to no-hit anybody, anywhere, anytime.
Yeah, that's what, 4 now in the last, 6, 7 years. That's incredible.
It might be 4 in 4 years now.
Is it really? Okay, I'm missing one somewhere then.
Well, let's see. You go back. You had Rocker in 19. You had
Lighter.
You had this year, and am I missing one?
There was another combo, but I thought that was back a few years.
Yeah, it might have been another one in between. I can't remember now.
Yeah, but I said this before we played a game. I don't worry about our pitching unless we get a bunch of injuries, because I think between the 13 arms that we've seen so far, that you're going to have 10 perform. Like Leboke was Leboke, like I thought he was going to be yesterday. His stuff was nasty. I mean, it really was. Now, they helped him a couple times swinging stuff off the plate, but that's because it looked so good coming out of his hand. That was probably my biggest excitement about that yesterday. And then, of course, Nick has just been lights out every time he's gone in the game. So our pitching is not an issue. It's being consistent with the bat. And I want to say something about that. And everybody, rightfully so, should be worried about, okay, are we going to hit, Nick on Allegretta or Andrew Allegretta, excuse me, on the broadcast kept mentioning how we're 14th in the conference and hit all the measurables offensively. But that doesn't concern me, and here's why. It seems like when we hit a home run, it's a solo. And it seems like when we get people on base, we don't hit. So we're getting people on. If we weren't getting anybody on, I'd be worried. But we are getting people on base. So at some point, that's going to change.
By the way, other no-hitter was last year, Chris McIlvain and Christian Little at Kentucky.
Yeah. Yes.
I keep forgetting that one ever happened for whatever reason. But, yeah. So, let me pull up some stats because a couple things here offensively. I think they're last in the league in runs scored right now, maybe. I'll have to pull that up. They're close. Now, of course, their schedule's been the toughest in the league so far, too, so there's that. But let me see.
They're last in batting average, I know that. On base.
Yeah, they've got a 362 team on base percentage. I think they're the only team in the league that's under 400. They're slugging 427, not great. They've got 15 doubles. I would have thought they had more than that, 6 triples. No, they're not striking out a lot. They've struck out 84 times to 50 walks. I mean, their pitchers have struck out 137 and actually walked more than Vanderbilt's offense has walked. They've walked 53. Yeah, I don't know. I'm looking at it. Vastein's kind of come down to earth a little bit. Austin's really hitting well. Streck's starting to find it. Parker Nolan's kind of been par for the course. Parker Nolan. Bradfield's not hitting much, although that maybe changed a little bit last night. Diaz just been kind of mediocre. I don't know what's happened to Calvin Hewitt that he's kind of fallen off. Polk's hitting when he plays, but that's been hit and miss in terms of playing time. Yeah, I don't know. Maldonado getting some more time is kind of interesting. I just looked down the lineup. I guess there's some hope because you got Bradfield's going to hit better. I think Schreck's going to hit better than he's hit. And some of these other guys haven't been lost causes at the plate, so there's that. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know that I know more what to think of this team than I did to start the season.
No, and I think that you attribute that to the schedule because let's just say we've played whoever's schedule, Texas A&M's or whatever, and our numbers are better. I still don't think you know. I don't think it now. One of the biggest things with this offense, like I said, I don't know how many, and you can look this up right quick. How many of our home runs have been solos? Got to be.
I don't know.
I mean,
it does seem like they've had a lot.
Nebraska, we hit 3 and they're all solos. That's the game that you can win if you got one guy on base that got hit by a pitch or something. A lot of that is luck. It really is, and That hadn't turned our way yet, but I think it will. And I'm more excited about us making contact than anything. I keep dwelling on that, but I think we only struck out 3 times yesterday. I mean, we didn't do that hardly any last year that I can remember. We struck out 3 times the first 2 innings. So the contact thing's more important because a lot of times you can just put the ball in play and they're going to make a mistake, you know.
Seeing Bradfield getting going on the bases this weekend was a little bit of a good sign. I don't know what it is. It seems like to me, maybe I'm imagining this, it seems to me like he's not been as fast down the line to first in the first couple of weeks. And then he was what? He got caught stealing, I don't know, 3 of the first 4 or 5 times, which he didn't get caught stealing all last year, although he did get picked off. I don't know what to make of him when I've watched him at times.
He, to me, and I want to make sure I'm parsing him. He's pacing himself. I think he understands being a veteran. You know, this is a marathon, not a sprint. And I think Enrique's an emotional kid. And when he gets that emotion going, once we get into conference, I don't think he's going to have a problem. I think he'll be the old Enrique. And now he has been defensively. He's been the same. He tracked down the game, maybe an Austin P game. And it goes, you don't notice it because it's a midweek game, but he made 2 or 3 incredible plays. Just getting a jump on the ball where he just outruns the baseball. I don't see a difference in his speed. I do see, like you said, a little bit of a difference going down to first base. But again, I think that may be him in his mind pacing himself a little bit. I'm sure Corbs doesn't care for that, if that's the case, but I do see that.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen him beat out some balls in the past that he has not so far.
Right.
I don't know if that's fair or not, if that's just my eyes playing tricks on me, but it feels a little bit odd watching it.
Yeah, and he could be protecting something that we don't know about. He may have. He
could, and that's what I've wondered because he's always hustled. That's never been hustle has never been, or lack of hustle has never been something that you have been fairly able to put on that guy.
Right, and then you talk about a kid that knows that this is it, and everything he does is under a microscope to where he's going to be drafted, and I think that plays into it as well.
Yeah. Infield switcheroo, what'd you make of that this weekend? This season of the Vandy Sports Podcast has been made possible by my friend Dr. Jody Jones, DDS. When it comes to general or cosmetic dentistry services, Jody is the best in Nashville. Just check out his client list. It testifies to that. He sees movie stars, music stars, athletes, coaches, you name it. Jody is the dentist of choice for stars in Nashville, but he sees regular folks like you and I as well. What people love about Jody's office is the ambiance. It's relaxing, it's friendly. Someone described it to me as a tooth spa. Whether your needs are general or cosmetic, go see Jody today. Call him 615-270-2322. See him at 55 Music Square East, not far from downtown or the Vanderbilt campus. Jody is a former Vanderbilt football player and a huge Commodore booster, so go and talk Vandy sports with him while you're there. Go see Jody Jones today. Thank him for his support of this podcast because without it, this season would not be possible. Specifically, they started, Austin at second, Diaz at third, Vastine at short. I like it too, yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I think Diaz is probably more equipped for third. He's got good hands as far as quick reactions, but sometimes he bobbles the ball a lot. But we're at third. If you can just play it off your chest and make a throw, you're good. But now Vastine is really smooth at shortstop, I think. He looked good this weekend. I like that there. And look, let's face it, R.J. Austin, that kid, he's my favorite signee because I think that kid could play anywhere on the field. Heck, if you gave him the tools of ignorance, he'd go behind the plate and do a good job.
He's a star.
He really is. He's a star in the making. And the ball he hit in that, and we can talk about this a little bit, in that football stadium that we played in, he hit one in the upper tank to opposite field. I don't know how far it was, but it was impressive.
That venue, everything about that tournament I hated. I mean, I guess I'd rather have weird baseball than no baseball, but my goodness, I would not be eager to go back there if I'm anybody.
No, and I will tell you this. This is how bad I hated it. I watched it. I did have the $29 or whatever it was we paid for it. I don't know what it was. But I watched part of the first game, and it was so irritating, I just turned it off and I had more enjoyment listening to it on the radio. That's how bad it was.
Hey, the first day might have been the best of all the days from broadcast quality too.
Well, and I don't, bless his heart, whoever it was doing the color, I don't know who they had, and he may be just volunteering or something. I don't know, but it was you could get somebody from the elementary school to do just as good. It was pitiful.
The Saturday color commentating on Big Ten Plus was so bad. I'll be honest. I was paying more attention to like what dumb thing is this guy going to say next than I was the baseball. I've never done that. I was out now to set the stage. My son had a baseball practice that morning, right. So I'm sitting there watching it on my phone with the ear pods in my ears and keeping an eye on him and keeping an eye on the game. All I could think of were two things. Either they were using artificial intelligence as a color commentator, and you think I'm exaggerating, but if you heard it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Or it literally sounded as if it was either that. It was either some kind of a prank, like a Barstool or reality show kind of prank where they just put a guy in a booth and it was his job to sound as weird as you possibly could, from tone of voice to just complete lack of insight. I mean, the things that I heard on the broadcast, let me see if I can get the mental list down. He was quoting batting averages in points. So looking at RJ Schreck. RJ Schreck is hitting .268. When Maryland's Matt Shaw, their All-American shortstop, got a double, he pulls into second, and the guy says, and the guy only spoke in very short bursts too.
Right.
He would get in a quick one-liner that took 4 or 5 seconds, if even that. And when Shaw hit a double, he said that was his 4th second base hit of the year. I think the best one, I texted somebody this. I'm going to have to pull this up. When Maryland came to bat in the 5th, he referred to it as a big offensive possession for Maryland. So I'm just thinking, how could you knowingly hire this guy? It was either AI, it was a prank, or they literally pulled a guy in off the street and tried to teach him baseball in 30 minutes before he hit the air.
Well, Chris, you've missed two that were the funniest ones to me, and this was the first night, I think, when he called the umpires referees, and then he called Jack Bulger a hind catcher. I haven't heard hind catcher since my grandmother.
Which night was that?
The first game, I think.
Oh, I missed that one. That guy was way better than the guy on Saturday. You think I'm kidding, and I'm not.
Yeah, well, the guy on Saturday, I just saw the sound bites. I heard all the sound bites. But like I said, it was so bad watching it. First of all, the play-by-play and stuff, I was just silencing that after a while. It was so embarrassing. So, but just the visual of it was horrible to me. I couldn't.
Awful. I couldn't tell where the ball was hit, and neither could the cameras.
No. And I think that was the other problem. They only had 2, maybe 3 cameras, and there was no replay, I don't think, for the whole weekend. Because there were a couple of plays, I think we benefited from one. We benefited from a play at third where I thought we were out. And then I think one of the teams we played benefited from another call. So there was no replay.
Well, and I thought the ball I thought the ball that Schreck hit for a triple.
That was a home run.
I guess I thought it was too. It either hit the very top of the fence or it hit the concrete and it bounced back. It was one of the two. But by the way the ball bounced, it hit something hard. It did not hit the top of the fence as it faced the batter. It might have literally hit the part of the fence that faces the sky, the edge there. Right. But I thought it hit, by the way the ball bounced, I thought it hit metal or concrete behind the fence and came back. But they had no replays. And
that rabbit hop it took was like a concrete hop. That's like bouncing off the street. So it had to hit that concrete.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how do you get a tournament like that in such crappy everything and convince Vanderbilt and the defending national champs to come play it and convince Hawaii to fly across I don't know how many time zones and miles to get there.
Well, is this the first time they've had it, Chris?
I hope to God it is, because I can't imagine anybody doing that before and saying this is how you do it today.
And does Minnesota play their whole season there?
I don't think so. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I know.
It was awful.
I know you can't play where the Twins play. I know that because they don't have a roof. Yeah. But my goodness, you could almost find another place to play inside of a ballroom or something. And it was just awful. I just leave it at that.
I was trying to figure out the dimensions to that also, especially based on the lines on the football field. You could still see them even though they had tried to blur them out. You could still see where they were. It looked like to me, to the very left field corner was about maybe 310. And so I don't know how far it was to the alleys, but it looked to me like a short fence. Now, the weird thing was right field looked further back from home plate, but that's where they had that big wall that was, 30 feet high, all of right field or whatever it was. And that looked like a tremendous poke to get it out of there. It looked like it was further away than everything in left, but you saw a couple of guys clear that.
Well, the right field foul net, they didn't have a foul pole, the foul net. The right field foul net was 300 feet. So you got.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it was
very short.
Yeah, that's why they had the tall wall, and that big wall makes it look like it's further back. So, and where was it? I heard Andrew on the broadcast mention that it was just a sheet. What was he speaking of there? I don't know what that meant. He said it wasn't even a wall; that there was a sheet pulled over or something. They had two lines on it, one for junior college. I was like, what in the world is that?
I have no idea.
Yeah, it's like if you hit it above one line, it was not a home run because it's a junior college line. I mean, I don't know. I guess they have high school games in there too. I don't know.
That was the weirdest baseball event I've ever seen.
I don't think we'll be back. That's be my guess.
No, and you had the dugouts that on the field, they look like those little, kind of like the canisters that you take when you're moving or whatever.
Yeah, little cans. Well, and not only that, they weren't big enough. What am I saying here? The coaches had to be out of them, and so did the support staff. There wasn't room for anybody to be in the dugout except a few players.
Wow. Yeah, that was a poorly planned event all the way around. I'm still trying to figure out why Devin Futrell didn't pitch. I'm told it was a coach's decision. I was asking this morning, does he pitch midweek? My source didn't know. So I don't know what's going on there.
So many things can happen with that, Chris. When you're on the road, if a kid's late for a meeting, misses a treatment or something like that. I mean, we had it in football. You don't notice it in football because there's so many players. Coaches say, okay, you're not playing today. So it could have been something as small as that. I say small, it's not really small, but it could have been that, a disciplinary thing, or it could be, like you said, we have two midweek games, and I don't know if Riley gets another chance. I would assume he will, and then I guess Devin may pitch the other one. We'll see tomorrow. Speaking of that, I was looking at Tech and Evansville. I think they're two pretty good teams, man. Looked at who they played. I think Evansville played two or three ranked opponents. One of them, maybe Evansville has beaten Oregon State once, so that's not going to be easy either. I think Evansville's won 7 in a row.
Yeah, the problem with pitching Futrell midweek, unless you've got him on a pitch count, is then it's a little harder to get him back throwing on Sunday. So I don't know. I mean, I don't think that they would have. One of the first things I thought when I found out he wasn't pitching was, well, that is a horrible park for his skill set. Because he's a fly ball pitcher, and my goodness, you do not want to throw a fly ball pitcher in that bandbox that they created. So I don't know, but I don't know. But my sense is there was something more than that, but I might be completely off base. And that's probably not fair to Devin. I've never heard anything about him being an issue, so I don't know what happened.
We'll know tomorrow, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I would like to see them, put together a couple of 12, 13, 14-run games. I mean, have you seen the numbers that are going up around the league offensively? It's bananas, and really around college baseball.
Well, do we attribute that to lack of pitching? Is it home run numbers or just hitting off just batting average numbers?
I think it's both. I'm going to pull up the stats. I was texting with some friends last night that have got some connections here and there. The exit velocities off barrels. I mean, a lot of people have attributed it to the baseball. The EVs by some of these guys, I mean, you're seeing 110s and up. Let me pull up the stats that you're seeing for teams. And look, now, here's the other thing. Vanderbilt has played the toughest schedule in the league so far. And that is not inconsequential. I don't know. You remember before Vitello, or maybe even in his first year or two, Tennessee used to just go beat the snot out of Dayton and Marist and whoever pre-conference, and they'd go 13-1, 14-1, 15-0 or whatever, and then they'd get down in the league, and then it would all come back to earth. You're probably going to see that happen with some of these teams, but I'm looking. Okay, Vanderbilt is tied with Kentucky for last in the league in runs scored. Vanderbilt has played one more game than Kentucky. Vanderbilt is last in the league in doubles. Vanderbilt is third from last in home runs. Kentucky's got 6, and Texas A&M's only got 10. Let's see, walks. Vanderbilt's only got 50. That is last in the league. Strikeouts, Vanderbilt struck out 84. A&M struck out 85. Tennessee struck out 103. Carolina struck out 103. Missouri 93. Kentucky 97. LSU 93. So you got Vanderbilt as one of the teams that's striking out the least in the league. But sometimes that's just manifesting as harmless rollers in the infield, which it seemed like last night was just a parade of those, one after another. Let's see, Vanderbilt is the only team in the league under 400 in on-base percentage at 362. Next worst is A&M at 414, and Vanderbilt is actually outslugging A&M 427 to 405, but that's the only team that is behind Vandy in slugging. Now, some of the numbers around the league. Florida's hit 35 home runs, and against Vanderbilt's hit 14. Alabama 25, Ole Miss 23, Georgia 23, Arkansas 23, Tennessee 24. Those are all the ones over 20. I don't know. The bat thing, there's going to be a different inspection process, and it's by the SEC. So I think when you get into conference play, if people are doing shenanigans with the bats, it's going to be a lot tougher to do because the league, led by the umpires, are going to do the checks before the series and not team managers or whatever. And I think they're going to be checking for the stickers too. So again, this is an SEC thing. This is not applied in any other league that I know of so far. But if I'm a coach or a player or a team or whatever, and I'm tampering with bats, I'm wanting to play with the bats I'm going to have to play with in the league.
Exactly.
Or aren't you?
No, I agree with
you. So I don't know.
I think the number, I look at the, again, I'm not trying to be all Vanderbilt here, but when I look at what our schedule is and what these other teams, some of these teams they're playing, and I look at some of the ERAs of these other teams, I mean, good grief. That's part of it. It's just a horrible pitching.
See, I don't know about that. I think the arms, you've got some talented arms in this league, much more so than you had a year ago.
I don't mean the SEC teams. I'm talking about their opponents.
Oh, gotcha.
Numbers are so good against those opponents is because they're just, I mean, it's. I'll give you an example. There was a kid that pitched for was it Gonzaga? I think Gonzaga. And I know the West Coast Conference usually has decent baseball. But I think Gonzaga's like now after the sweep of Tennessee, they're like 1-11.
Yeah.
So there was a kid that came in, had an ERA of like 54, and it wasn't because of one bad inning. I looked at his stats; he pitched like 8 innings. How do you get a 54 ERA, pitched 8 innings? So I think that's part of it. Is just that early pitching, and it'll all come back, I believe, because I haven't seen any odd things off of a bat like I've seen last year. Now that's just watching Vanderbilt and then watching highlights of other teams, but I haven't seen any odd. Now the Vastine home run we hit was a bomb, but it was to right field, so it appeared longer than it was. It was just, I don't know, he killed that ball. But besides that, I haven't seen any balls jumping off of the bat. You know what I'm saying? Hasn't been that trampoline look to it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it feels like you see everybody with velocity now, right? Like I feel like if they play Eastern Kentucky in the midweek, you're going to see a couple guys that are touching 90 or beyond. It feels like there's so much emphasis on that. Training has gotten so much better. Now, what I do think sometimes is the learn to pitch thing. You look at the walk numbers in the league; they're really high. Mississippi State's walked 79 guys in 108 innings so far. Ole Miss has walked 63 in 100.
And Chris, you can check this one too. Check on hit batsmen. Seems like we've been hit a ton. We've hit a lot of guys ourselves, seems like. But hit batsmen's up, too.
Yeah, Vanderbilt has been hit 22 times. That actually doesn't lead the league. LSU and Kentucky have been hit 27. South Carolina's hit 38. Either that's a reflection of pitching and they're all standing on top of the plate. And that I think that'll come down a little. Those things will come down a little bit because the pitching they'll see in the SEC is better. I mean, I'm looking at some other stuff. Walks. Tennessee's walked 24. That's the lowest in the league by far.
Well, while you're looking to some of these guys, some of these pitchers that aren't stretched out yet, where they're throwing 90 pitches or 100 yet, probably will this weekend. I think you're going to see pitchers get stretched out more. I think this is the weekend you can see some guys topping 100 pitches.
Yeah. Let's see. Other things, home runs allowed. Georgia's allowed 19. If I was going to pick a team that I would say leads the league in home runs given up, they would be up there. Ole Miss has given up 15. Vanderbilt's given up 12. South Carolina's only given up 4. My goodness, South Carolina's given up 4 home runs, and it has hit 32. So I don't know what to make of that. Week schedule, although they did play Clemson this weekend and took the series, so there's that. I don't know how good Clemson is this year.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't we have a kid now? Didn't we have a kid leave Vanderbilt and go to Carolina?
Yeah, Gavin Cassis, who's last I checked had played really well there.
Yeah, I thought so.
Vanderbilt has hit 8 guys, which is the second lowest in the league. Florida's hit 17. Now, here's something interesting. Florida's walked 54 and hit 17 in 111 innings. With the 5.35 ERA, that is a staff that I would have thought would have been at or near the top of the league. I don't know if Florida's playing in bandboxes so far or wind is a factor, but whenever Florida's playing games, my goodness, you're seeing some runs scored.
Mm-hmm.
So... Anyway, anything else with baseball or basketball before we move on to the mailbag?
No, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, don't we have 10 straight home games now? To kind of get things on, get into a little comfort zone here, hopefully and go 8-2 and 9-1 in these 10. I think
that's pretty close. I'll look it up for sure. I know that it's 2 midweeks followed by 3 with Loyola, so that would be 5. What is it? 1 midweek next week with Belmont. That'll be out at First Horizon. Oh, shoot, I'll have to miss that one. No, I won't. I'll be back in town. Okay. That one, and then 3 with Ole Miss, and then the bookend game with Lipscomb. So, yeah, I think that's 10-ish.
Right. So that'd be good. This is when you get healthy and get things right. They get in a little bit of comfort zone, and I'm hoping that, we won't have school either because spring break starts this week. So it'll be just baseball, 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 and maybe our flaws can be covered up a little bit.
Well, you may see the offensive numbers take a little jump, too, because Ole Miss is having some issues with pitching and with health, and then Mississippi State's really struggling to pitch. So,
yeah.
Those are your first two series. But, are you ready for the mailbag?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let me find the mailbag. While I'm stalling for time here, your reminder that the mailbag is sponsored by Sutherland and Belk, a family-owned injury law firm. If you or a loved one has been hurt in an accident, give Taylor or Russell a call at 615-846-6200, see what your rights are and if they can help. Here we go. We've only got one mailbag question today. I think that's because everybody's busy talking basketball and the NCAA tournament. Okay. Would you rather face Georgia or LSU? I have an easy answer for that one.
I'd rather face LSU.
I would not.
Really? See, I just don't think no way the kid's going to go 35 on us again.
Yeah, I don't know. LSU's playing a lot better, and I wonder this time of year when you're playing for nothing, easy to have your mind on spring break. Georgia's lost 5 or 6 in a row. It doesn't mean anything. LSU's continued to play hard and play well.
Yeah, I don't know. Either one of them could be a win or a loss. I don't. Once you get into tournament play, you see it everywhere, all over the country, and you just got to bring your A game, and we have to do that. We can't be worried about we got to win 2 games, because if we try to do it that way, then we won't win any.
Yeah. All right. Any parting thoughts? I've got some other things I need to tend to here. So I was going to see if there's anything in the podcast that we needed to discuss today that we didn't get to.
No, I think we're good. Spring football, they have 1 or 2 more practices, and then they take a break. We can get into that in the next week or 2. But basketball, again, please get out there Thursday night if you can, folks. The kids deserve it. If nothing else, they have, whether they make the NCAA or not, they have busted their rear ends and done everything they can to put themselves in a position to get there anyway. I hope it just didn't wait too long to do it.
Yeah, my 9-year-old son has been lobbying my wife to go, but he is not winning that argument.
All right. Thank you, Chris.
All right. Take care, my man.
Have a good day.
You too. Thank you for listening to today's episode. We thank our presenting sponsor, Jody Jones, DDS. We thank our other sponsors, Sutherland and Belk and MyPerfectFranchise.net. If you're interested in sponsoring this podcast, and that's how we make this work, please email me at chrislee70@gmail.com. We also ask that you subscribe to our website, vandysports.com. That is $99 a year. You get things there that you don't get here. And, of course, please rate, review, and subscribe where you see our podcast. That helps us get noticed. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at vandysports.com. Follow me at chrislee70. And finally, subscribe to our Vandy Sports YouTube channel as well. Thank you for listening to the Vandy Sports Podcast, which is part of the 440 Network. I'm your host, Chris Lee. We'll catch you with another episode coming very soon.